let's head over to West Lafayette, Indiana. Let's talk about Purdue. Let's do it. Ryan Walters did not. I mean, they struggled last year, right? And this was a huge coaching philosophy change, roster turnover last year that they were dealing with. Because I mean, Jeff Brom did a fantastic job with Purdue. Okay, that is no secret. He was unbelievable for them. So you had some severe roster turnover as well as a relatively tough schedule. And yeah, it didn't turn out so great for you. This year, your schedule is
No favors.
no favors, really.
Especially in the out of conference, man. What are we doing? What are we doing?
Notre Dame and at Oregon State is brutal. Getting Ohio State, Penn State, and Oregon is brutal. Going to Wisconsin, brutal. Nebraska, not easy at all. I mean, your best situation is Northwestern at home. You need to win that game. If you're Purdue, you have to win that game. Michigan State, that might be a game you also have to win. And then Indiana. And who knows? That Indiana team could be fighting for a bowl game in that last week 14 there. So this.
Yeah, you need the old Oaken bucket. You never want to be playing in that game.
Yeah. So, and we'll talk about the schedule at the end of the video, but I guess we'll start with the quarterback room. Hudson Card, I thought was better than I thought he was going to be last year. I thought he had some serious bright spots. Now he's a redshirt senior. He has a lot of snaps under his belt at both Texas and Purdue. I'm confident that Hudson Card is going to be okay. I'm not saying he's a top half quarterback in the Big Ten. The thing that I'm a little bit more concerned about is like I'm starting to be a little bit less high on Graham Harrell because if you've looked everywhere that he's been, I don't know that Graham Harrell's been exceptional at anywhere that he's been as an offensive coordinator. And last year, was proof of that. His time over at hold on, pull this up at West Virginia. I wasn't all that impressed. USC, I wasn't all that impressed. Thought his North Texas years were honestly some of his best years. I'm starting to kind of doubt Graham Harrell's ability to be an offensive coordinator. And now I don't know if that's fair because of Purdue's talent gap they're kind of dealing with here in the Big Ten, but I'm not sure if Graham Harrell's and maybe Purdue fans can educate me. I don't know if Graham Harrell is the answer. I think if something doesn't work here in this offense this year, I think that they might have to make a change in this offseason if Ryan Walters wants to continue being the head coach at Purdue.
Yeah, yes. Now that was Ryan Walters, I think, right when he got there. It was like, let's get Graham Harrell and let's get Hudson Card, right? And kind of boom, boom, boom. Hudson Card, I do like. I mean, when that first happened, I was like, "Oh, that's kind of interesting. Good for Purdue. I will see how it pans out." But he was not the bad part in that team at all last year. I thought even with, I guess they had some talent in that receiver room. Obviously, Theon Burks going to Oklahoma.
Yeah,
A couple other guys leaving as well. But even with some struggling moving doors, I thought he played well at times. I really did, and I think he moves when he runs the ball. That's when he's at his best, and he's really opening up, rushing lanes and doing all the other good things. I like him. I mean, he threw for 2,300 yards last year, 15 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. His QBR wasn't great, but listen, I watched the games. I thought he played well. I thought he
me
played
too.
well, and yeah, you mentioned Graham Harrell, but the struggling wasn't. I mean, the offense, yeah, it didn't play great in that middle of the stretch there, but it was defensively. I mean, you're giving up 30 points a game in the Big Ten, and that's gonna happen. You're not gonna win many football games. But obviously, your running back room. I guess we can move on to that. Well, first of all, I'll say this: behind Hudson Card, do we feel good about this team? Right? Do we feel good about Ryan Brown, Marco Davila, Benedict Meredith? Right? Do we feel good about those guys?
Not necessarily. I think there's a pretty significant drop off in experience, obviously. But we'll see with Marcus Davila, right? Like he could be a very good player for them down the road.
Yeah.
Ryan Brown could be a good player for them down. Like, I don't love Ryan Brown. All right, I think if Hudson Card goes down, I think there's going to be more than wheels falling off this wagon. To be honest, offensively, defensively had their own struggles last year, and we'll talk about that. And obviously, the offense isn't entirely to blame. And my Graham Harrell slander, I should also be critical of the defense as well, right? But I don't feel great about this quarterback room aside from Hudson Card.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm with you. And that's part of the wheels falling off on this season. Could be not only the schedule, but if Hudson Card goes down, I mean he battled a little bit of injuries right at Texas.
I
Maybe
mean,
that's maybe thinking about Quinn Ewers. But
this like I don't know what the alt lines are. I'd have to check them, but their win total is 4.5 and is juiced minus 172 to the under. So like you're if you're betting the over, like you better hope that Hudson Card is healthy the entire year because they're not winning 5 games if Hudson Card is not healthy. I'm sorry, it's not
no,
happening.
no. And by the way, but real quick, last thing on the quarterbacks. You said he's not top half, maybe not top half of the Big Ten. I think he is. Part of that is the Big Ten, the quarterbacks. I mean, quarterbacks what 4 through 15 are probably like super replaceable. I mean, pick any order, and I'm probably not going to be able to complain too much. I do think Hudson Card belongs in that top half. I think what I saw last year, feel pretty good about what he can do this year. But that running back room, depth to me is the concerning issue, right? I mean, obviously Tyrone Tracy was had a great move, transition over to running back. He provided an explosive spark in your offense. I mean, we saw what he was doing in preseason and training camp with the Giants.
Or
Unfortunately,
get
got
hurt.
hurt. Hopefully, comes back soon. Devin McAbee. Listen. I thought he was really good in 2022. He's still at 800 yards, six touchdowns. Was pretty solid. I
Wasn't
hope he
as efficient.
continues to get better and better. Yeah, yeah. And then you bring in Reggie Love from Illinois. Obviously, pretty talented, solid player for them. He's also a guy that's battled injuries. So that's not great because behind them, that's where you get into some trouble. I mean, Jaheim Merriweather as a true freshman is probably gonna have to give you meaningful snaps. I mean, as we've seen running back rooms take attrition in the Big Ten. I mean, that just happens, right? Especially if you're, trying to run the football like Ryan Walters likes to do. But yeah, to me it concerns me. I mean, Merriweather, you like about him, even as a true freshman, he's got a body that can play, right? 6'2", 210. Holy cow. How many true freshman running backs are coming in with that kind of physicality? But behind them, I think you're looking at a bunch of walk-ons and love a good walk-on. It's a dying breed right now in college football, but you don't want to be getting into October, November, into a tough part of your schedule, and you're playing a bunch of walk-on. You got to rely on walk-ons and guys that maybe you didn't
Young walk-on, not even
feel
like just like
comfortable.
not even like your senior walk-ons, like your
No,
junior. Like these are young walk-ons. All right, these are these are not guys that are
no,
have been in the weight room for several years, and it's like
no.
okay, like they're ready to play college football. Like I mean, these are young guys.
And
This is not like you would have to move some guys around in this roster to figure out how to plug some holes there at the running back spot.
yeah, we
And I
we
don't know
love
who
a
it would
good
be.
walk-on.
I don't know who it would be.
I don't know either. I mean, we love a good walk-on. It's an old guy. Maybe switch positions because you needed him too. You needed depth at that position. I'm thinking Derek Captain at Minnesota, legend from that Northwestern game a couple years ago. But yeah, that running back room, it's not ideal. But that wide receiver room, I do think there's more promise there than I think meets the eye in terms of you see the exodus, right? You see Deion Burks, right? You see TJ Sheffield, you see Yassine gone, right? All those guys gone. Garrett Miller in the tight end gone. I do feel still pretty good that you could lose 4 of maybe your top pass catchers from a year ago, 4 of your top pass catchers from a year ago, and I still feel pretty good about the pieces there. Now, maybe is the high upside there that with Burks, and you've seen, we've had Purdue, Charlie Jones, you've had a run of really good receivers with Jeff Brom, but Jamal Adrien, right? Remember him from a couple years ago from FAU? He was hurt last year, was supposed to be a contributor, supposed to be a dude for him. He's still, first of all, I think he still has 3 years of eligibility left. That's kind of crazy. Awesome for the
Crazy as a 2021 kid,
future of this
you know.
program for sure. But guys, yeah, you bring in a couple Georgia guys, right? CJ Smith, who runs a 10-3 100-meter dash. I mean, we watched the Olympics, right? We saw those guys fly there. He's still growing, right? He's still learning position. That's fine. But they're really, really excited about him. Another Georgia kid, Dot. The Nylon Morissette. Um, again, a guy, physical dude. He's still learning and growing the position. But then you bring in a little bit more reliable guy like Cam Brown, right? He's been at UCLA, he's been at A&M, started a ton of football. Just rely at 6'1", 185. A guy that can get open. Andrew Sawoniski, another more reliable kid. We'll see. Jaden Dixon Veal, I know they like him. I think he's a former JUCO kid. He looked solid in the spring. Uh, where Jaron Tibbs, I think Purdue fans, I think they kind of like what he can do, especially in the future. But we'll see how much he has to contribute in year one. Hopefully not too much, but again, another body in that room. That's a Big Ten athlete, which is really nice to see. But yeah, Dreen Smith, Brown, Sweski, Morset, Dixon Veal. I mean, those are guys that I feel pretty good about relying upon. I mean, the star power is there with Smith, right? And maybe a Dreen if he gets back to like real good shape. But uh, solid pieces for Hudson Card to do. How do you feel about this room?
I mean, you sound pretty optimistic. I don't think. Well, also, hopefully CJ Smith is healthy, by the way. I don't know. I don't think he's going to play week one. So we'll see like what that wide receiver room is going to look like down the stretch of the season. And like, maybe missing those fall camp reps are going to hurt them down the road or early in the season. And the reality is like not, it's really nice that they have that bye in week two after, playing Indiana State week one. So maybe you can get um CJ Smith back. But like I know Purdue fans are used to having some sort of receiver emerge and be an All-American, but this is not a Jeff Brom offense anymore. You're going to need contributions from everyone. I think Jamal Edrin has to step up and be huge for this team. And CJ Smith has to get healthy, and Cam Brown needs to contribute, and uh, and then maybe find some other guys there. And then also in the tight end room, Max Clare needs to be really good as well. Like if you're going to, this is a definite downgrade over last year, right? And I'm not saying that this. I don't think what you were trying to say was that this wide receiver room is good, but there are some pieces, and the hope is that someone or some two will emerge. But I'm not very confident in this receiver room. I'm really not. Especially if CJ Smith, if his injury kind of keeps lingering, and because he's not playing week one, I don't think. But just we'll see. We're gonna have to monitor that situation for sure.
Yeah, and that's kind of the theme. You look and kind of going on. You're going to see a lot of these rooms going to break down, and it's relying on transfers, a lot of transfers, and that's not really an ideal place to be. But that's kind of the reality of year two in this rebuild for Ryan Walters. To me, yeah, I mean, you've got some. To me, I just like you got some kind of floor with a drain, Cam Brown, hopefully, Sawinski, and then you've got your high upside guys, and we'll see by the end of the year if CJ Smith's healthy and he's getting better. I mean, he's 6'3", 190, 10-3 kid. I mean, you just don't see those kind of bodies at Purdue. You just don't. Not even the Big Ten a lot of times too. We'll see what he can do. Yeah, I mean, no, I will say I just was trying to kind of stop the concern as that you lose three your top four guys all transfer out of there and the ceilings or the roof's falling apart. I mean, this team's terrible. This wide receiver room is terrible. I don't think it's terrible at all. I think there's still a nice floor and then a high upside that could be met. You mentioned Max Clare. Was hurt a little bit last year, but also stepped in nicely when I think Garrett Miller missed some time last year and looked okay, getting better and better. He was a young kid last year. Hopefully, can grow into that role. We'll see who comes in. I was hoping, maybe to bring in like an older guy that can be a really good run blocker. We'll see if Burheim and Bieber can, Bieber, because the offensive line. I mean, it was bad last year, right? It just was bad last year, and was on paper it looks better, but it still remains to be seen. So hoping to bring in a tight end that helps you be able to establish a run, to maybe keep Hudson Card healthy, and to also not have Maccabee and Love just getting buried all game long in the backfield.
Well, this offensive line and Purdue's had some good offensive lines, and they did some talent on the offensive line last year as well. It wasn't like their rushing attack wasn't bad, and now a lot of that depended on Tyrone Tracy, kind of switching there in that position. I don't know. I mean, I don't. I was expecting, looking at this offensive line, that I was going to not like it. Um, but I think I'm okay with it, especially in the state in which Purdue is in some of these other rooms. Like I feel I'm less worried about this offensive line than I am about the running back room. I'm less worried about this offensive line than I am about the depth in the quarterback room. I'm I'm on the boat that this isn't a terrible offensive line. Is that how you feel, or are you a little bit less optimistic on this offensive line?
On paper, it definitely should get better, I think. And there's also more depth. There's more bodies that they feel good about running out there. I think you bring in Corey Stewart from the MAC, Ball State. I think he was first team All MAC for them. We'll see how it translates to the Big Ten, especially early, because yes, you get Indiana State in the bye, but then you go right into a ton of tough games, especially along that defensive line early in the Big Ten until you get Nebraska, um, which we'll see exactly how good that D line is in the Big Ten that game there. But you move. I think Moose was moving inside to guard because he was not good at tackle. We'll see how that translates. Hopefully, I think a lot of tackles. I think that sometimes they're just better at guard. It's just hard to be that athletic, that quick, that physical out there at guard as well. Gus Hartwig is returning. He was one
Dog.
of, I think, the bright spots. Yep. Uh, Jalen Grant is coming back as well. He played 800 snaps for you. Didn't grade out super, super well, but again, experience, continuity with him and Hartwig is nice to have. Mabo, can he stay healthy? Right, he was good in 2022. Right, hurt last year. We'll see what happens there. Like I said, the depth hopefully on paper is better. Uh, but again, I think it comes down. Hopefully that starting five can keep Hudson Card upright, because we talked about it earlier. I mean, it's not that the whole season hinges on him, but he needs to play well, and he needs to be healthy too.
Yeah. So, yeah, thanks for that breakdown. Like, do any of these names that you just listed, like that starting five or six, I guess, you don't feel bad about any of them, really. Like, especially if Musa moves inside and
Well,
he plays guard.
we'll see how he is, and Grant too. I mean, the two guards. But again, if you're gonna have weaknesses on your offensive line, let it be at left and right guard, because you do not want it to be at center. And you do not want it to be at your tackles, right?
Well, yeah, and DJ Wingfield was not the better of the New Mexico tackles that were in the portal, which is kind of crazy, dude. Brian Vincent, man. It's also why I'm taking Lou Monroe under, because they had a really good offensive line for New Mexico last year, and he's not gonna have that at Lou Monroe. So
Power five running back. I mean, it's kind of crazy.
yeah, that was
We'll
a
see.
that was a decent team. Let's move over to the defensive side of the ball, where in Ryan Walters' team, right, you need to see improvement. It has to be there, right? And they went in the secondary and the defensive line, and they just absolutely rated transfers. And I don't know if all of these guys are going to be significant pieces to. No, Nyland Green will obviously be in the secondary, and we'll talk about the secondary. But he's also hurt right now, so we'll see if he's going to come back at some point, like after that bye week, week 2. But the defensive line, like, are these guys that are transferring in going to be serious contributors right away? Do you think?
On the defensive line, yes, I feel like there's going to be a lot of rotating. I think you lose Nick Gordon. I'm sorry. Yeah, no,
Yes.
Nick Gordon.
Yeah.
Uh,
He's gone.
to Texas A&M,
It was
which
nuts.
lucky you, you son
Is
of a bitch.
insane.
He is incredible. But I do think the ceiling with him was crazy, and you still gave up a lot of points, a lot of yards in the Big Ten. But I still think I feel pretty good about you bringing a ton of Power Five bodies with nice experience there. Hijam Jenkins returns. Um, he was a guy. I think he's moving down to edge, or I think he's playing edge now. I it's kind of where I have him at. He led the team in TFLs with 15 and a half with a team that also had Nick Scorton. He also had 7.5 sacks. I think part of that was also due to some of the attention that Scorton brought, but now he's the guy, right? Big Ten, all Big Ten honorable mention. I'm sorry. Got Shida Salah across from him. Um, he's been hurt, I think, for a couple of years now, hoping to get back fully healthy. That's an athletic dude. Owen Davis is playing, I believe, going to be playing edge for them. Will help. I think, they like him there. I think Purdue fans are excited about what he can do. Long, athletic kid. And then we'll see how much he contributes, right? I mean, he's a senior guy, but uh, I'm going to botch this. I'm so sorry. Jaire Ojada, 6'6" dude coming from D3, I believe. That is a guy big time up in, playing, I'm sorry, competition, but he flashed in the spring game, right? I think he could be really exciting. So we'll see on that edge group. Obviously, he scored, and I keep talking about him because he was so damn good. The upside is definitely gone with Scorton moving on, but I do think, the floor is still there. A bunch of Power Five guys, a bunch of guys with experience. It could still be a solid group. You pair that with, I think, a deep interior room. Is that crazy to say?
No, I like the interior. I mean, look, the run defense was not terrible last year. To be honest, I don't exactly know what went wrong. There were a lot of botches in coverage in the secondary that I thought led to some explosive plays. Like overall, I think that this defense was just a couple tweaks, a couple players away from being really good. Not really good, but you know, being not terrible and giving up 30 points per game and being a bottom 30 team in points per game allowed. Yeah, like Cole Brevard, Joe Anderson, Mo Amanode. I'm sorry, Purdue fans. You're gonna have to help us out with that pronunciation in the comment section. But yeah, no, I like this interior group. I really do. And we'll see if they can get. I mean, if you're talking about if Kydron Jenkins is gonna move to edge, then sounds like maybe they need help at edge. I mean, obviously they do after losing Nick Gordon. I would feel a lot better about this defense if it still had Nick Gordon, obviously, because Nick Gordon is going to be a first round draft pick next year, more than likely. Yeah, I really don't have a ton of problems with this defensive line group. And I think, when I was saying earlier, they brought in a bunch of transfers on the defensive line. I don't think they're going to play significant snaps. I think you're right. They're going to rotate some, but I also don't think that's necessarily an indictment on the defensive line. I think it was just that they needed depth. It wasn't
Yeah.
that they were trying to get guys and they missed on these guys. I think that they were trying to get some depth on the defensive line. And they did. And I feel pretty okay about it. Now, is this going to be an elite pass rushing defensive line like they were last year, like top 15 in sacks? Probably not. Probably not. But I can count on this run defense. I think probably improving, if not, still being a top 40, top 45 run defense in the league.
But yeah, and one more name I want to mention, Jeffrey Mabah, right, from Auburn. I think JUCO as well. They like his talent. They like his body. They like his athleticism. Another versatile athletic piece that they have in that interior. I guess we'll see what they can do lining up ball on that defensive line. It's a fun group. I mean, yes, obviously you lose Gordon, and I think people kind of just brush it off as like, okay, yeah, you lose Nick Gordon. We're gonna watch him just probably dominate Notre Dame in week 1 there. A lot of fuss is going to be made in Purdue, right? I mean, obviously, never fun to lose a talent like that, but I still think there's bodies in the stream. We talked about. I mean, yeah, you can rotate them, keep them healthy, um, especially stop the run as well. I mean, hopefully limit big plays as well. Yeah, it could be fun.
Look at this linebacker room. So, I mean, if you're talking about if Kydron Jenkins is going to move down edge, which, I mean, I still don't know if it's true. It sounds like you
He played
know.
he played like 600 snaps on the D line last year. That's what PFF had him as well.
Okay,
And I
so
think he's moving that edge.
Yanni Karlaftis at linebacker, I think is good. Obviously, brother of George Karlaftis. I think he's really good. I think he's a fine talent. Beyond that, especially if Owen Davis isn't going to be playing linebacker, like beyond that, I don't know what you're gonna have. You know, um,
How about Joey Sumlin? How about Kevin Sumlin's kid? No, but I think Winston Bergloon, 6'2", 235. I think he put on some weight. He's a young kid, right? But he's athletic. He was a safety in high school. I think he steps in there and mans that middle.
like
Yeah,
at will, but like
Karlaftis,
then who like
Hudson
then
Miller. I
there's
mean,
no
you got tackle.
rotating. There's no
You don't
rotating
have tackle.
then.
I'm sorry.
Then there's no rotating, right? Because like if Owen Davis is if he's gonna play edge too, right? Which like I would imagine, right, if uh Mergland gets hurt, right, then I would imagine that they would maybe move Owen Davis back
Yeah.
to like a will spot. But yeah, I don't feel really good about this linebacker room at all, specifically the depth.
No, I mean
And
maybe you can move, some bodies. You move
you
silly,
need to
turn him
stay
around.
healthy
I don't know.
here.
He's not big enough to move into the box a ton. Yeah, especially in the Big Ten linebackers. We talked. I mean, you don't have to have elite linebackers. I mean, you look at the elite teams in the Big Ten. A lot of them do have elite linebackers, but that's just a luxury, right? But you still have to have a floor. You have to be able to shed blocks and stop the run, and you also cannot be a liability in coverage. And Karlaftis, we talked about. We feel good about 55 tackles last year. Solid kid. He got better as the year went on, right, which is good to see. But again, even Winston Berglund, he's still a young kid. He's still moving to linebacker. I mean, second year kid. Landon Drennan, right? Hudson Miller. Look, these are young kids with not a ton of experience, and it's definitely not something that gets you super excited about this room. Joey Sumlin, love that for Kevin Sumlin's kid.
Like
Weird the
you're
connections with A&M and Purdue. You get Garrett Miller going to A&M. I mean, Hudson Card coming from Texas to Purdue. Cool.
yeah, I don't know. There's a pipeline.
Graham Harrell, Texas Tech.
Graham Harrell, Texas Tech. There's a pipeline.
That's that's crazy. Who
There,
would have
there's a
thought? West Lafayette. We love our West Lafayette. But yeah, I don't know. I'm with you here. A little bit concerning, especially the depth. And it's health. It's health. It's health. It's health. Couple positions you just cannot afford injuries. This is one of them.
well. Let's talk about the secondary because I might be okay with it.
Yeah, I
Dylan
mean,
Denneman, ridiculous, ridiculous.
oh God, dude, I was pounding the table for him. So I'm Minnesota guy, right? And so I watched when they offered him and they were looking at him, they wanted him pretty badly. And I watched his tape and I was like, holy shit. How is this kid? I mean, he had not a ton of offers. I mean, he was kind of a low 3-star kid when I was watching him. It's like, what the hell? What am I missing? That is he going on the rug? And all of a sudden, Mr. Purdue, I think he was a legacy kid at Purdue, if I'm not mistaken. Or he had some brothers play for the program as well. But he was so good, so instinctive. I mean, Caleb Downs gets a ton of hype as a true freshman last year, and he deserved it. But Feynman was right there. He was right there. 6 feet, 207, instinctive, unbelievable tackler, can cover. I mean, what a treat for Ryan Walters to just kind of back into
A
in
true
year one. A guy
freshman.
that's had success with secondaries. And he this defense, they gave a lot of points, but it could have been worse without Thieneman there. It's incredible. And to me, you pair him with a couple Power 5 transfers, and if Green stays healthy, which God, I hope he does, this could be a fun group on your defense. It really could, with the playmakers, with the length, with the speed there. Is that crazy?
Well, yeah, I mean, the defense again last year, right? It came down to explosive plays, broken down coverages, not getting off on the field in third down, and you weren't great in the red zone last year either, right? And like, it's not like you had a terrible run game. It's not like your secondary was like. Now, if you have a lot of blown coverages, right, at some point you're like, okay, like, but also too, like Aaron Henry, you know, was kind of running like similar stuff that Ryan Walters likes to run defensively at Illinois. And he was trying to run things, and he didn't have the talent necessarily to run it, and it cost them. And there were a lot of breakdowns in coverage and stuff like that. I think it was a similar situation, and I do think that there's some talent. Markevius Brown, him coming back and just having that kind of experience at cornerback, being a senior with those snaps. I don't know that he's the best corner, right? I don't know that he's the best corner, but I think he'll be. It's fine that you have experience there, right? Nyland Green, coming from Georgia, is really talented. This was a really good get for Ryan Walters. And again, we talked about, is he going to be healthy? I don't know if he's going to be healthy week 1. I'm leaning towards no. I'm leaning him towards more coming back week 3 after that bye, or week 4. I know you talked about having that bye week 2, maybe like to push it back a little bit, but for those injuries, right, of
That kind of
Nyland
helps.
Green and CJ Smith, it could be nice, right, getting those guys back fully healthy by the time week 3 rolls around when he played Notre Dame. Or better yet, let them rest, just lose, and then get them get them in a winnable game for Oregon State. Um, Antonio Stevens is a guy who played significant snaps as well. And then you bring some transfers over. You get one over there from Holy Cross, Sterling Smith. Played as a true freshman last year. He was really good as a true freshman last year. A very impactful player for that Holy Cross defense. I don't know how that's going to translate. I don't know how many snaps he's actually going to get, but it was clear that Ryan Walters saw it as a need to bring in some pieces in the secondary. And what's nice is that Sterling Smith has multiple years of eligibility, right? Multiple years of eligibility. He's going to be able to kind of groom Sterling Smith and to be, something that is better. And Ryan Walters is known for, those weren't necessarily like his players that he recruited at Illinois. Lovie Smith recruited a lot of those players, but he was a big part in helping them develop, right? So, I know we always give them a lot of poop for, but that it was actually Lovie Smith's players there, but still,
Dude,
uh,
lot of teams owe a lot of their success to the Lovie Smith, man.
yeah, seriously.
Illinois,
Well, all of them are in the state of Illinois.
Chicago Bears, the state of Illinois is hilarious. Well, also Houston got, they took CJ Stroud, so I guess it worked out for them. But I'm
Yeah,
with you. I
it
do
did.
think you mentioned that maybe not having the talent, you know, last year, and maybe even this year. We'll see if Green gets healthy. We'll see how these other pieces gel together. Brown is the upside there, but maybe not. But he makes plays, I guess. I do think they're recruiting really, really well. I mean, Luke Williams, Coy Beasley, wow, what a talent there. And then Terrion Grant, right? Reclassified, big talent. Now we'll see what he can do for you in 2024. You hope he doesn't have to play. Like, listen, I think for Purdue fans, I think you realize how exciting that is, right? That he's recruiting well, Ryan Walters is, and you get a guy like Teron Grant on your campus. But the reality is, like, you hope he doesn't have to play in year 1 because you hope Nyland Green stays healthy and plays well. You hope Derek Rogers returns, continues to build on a true freshman campaign. Kendrick Breedlow again comes in. He's talented, but hasn't produced. But I guess it's solid depth for you. You hope Grant, you hope Williams and Beasley, those guys can all sit and develop and get there because once their time calls upon, they're going to be really relied upon. And that's when you can see Ryan Walters really hit the ground running and what he wants to do defensively with an elite kind of secondary that they have there. Yeah, I guess if that makes sense there. So not to rain on the parade, but kind of want to hinder the hype for guys like Grant and Beasley and Williams. I mean, what Dynaman did last year was incredible. I mean, you cannot expect that out of any high 4-star recruit that you get as a true freshman because what he did was all American type stuff. You hope to get that from your 3rd and 4th year guys, and to get as true freshman is just that much more impressive. But again, stay healthy, get better hopefully from year 1, year 2. We'll see how Antonio Stevens lines up next to Dynamite. It's probably be him. Not Sterling Smith, one of the freshmen. I guess we'll see what happens there, but I don't know. This is gonna be a fun secondary though. It's a talented secondary. I think the practice must be fun. You're walking around Purdue, right? And you're like, whoa, look at that guy. 6'1", he's long. We got 6'2", he's long. He's another guy's over 6 feet with long arms. I mean, it's a pretty impressive, physically impressive room, and that's obviously something to be excited about for Purdue fans.
Yeah, I think they're doing a good job of doing that. Looking at their schedule, we talked about it before. It's brutal. All right, we're just going to go through the whole thing real quick. Indiana State at home week 1. All right, fine. And you get your bye week really early week 2. Okay. Notre Dame at home week 3. Oregon State on the road week 4. Nebraska at home week 5. Wisconsin on the road week 6. Illinois on the road week 7. Oregon at home week 8. A bye week. And then you get Northwestern at home. Ohio State on the road. Penn State at home. And then you end the season with 2 road games, by the way. 2 winnable games that were both on the road at Michigan State and at Indiana. The over-under win total for this is 4.5. I'm trying to find alt lines on the places I'm looking at. I can't find them. Maybe someone can help me in the comments. The under is juiced to minus 172. I don't know if that's the best odds that you can get for the under. Yeah, I think it is. I think those are the no. You can get. I think you can get like minus 168 somewhere. Yeah, it's a clear underplay. Not a play, but like if we're picking over under 4.5, I think this is an under. I I gotta try to find alt lines somewhere because if I can alt line this to like 3.5, I really think that they might struggle to get to 4 wins. Like I think a minus 172 might be too much juice for me, but a stinky alt line where they only win like 2 games all year, maybe 3 games, could go kind of crazy for me. So I haven't found the alt lines yet, but maybe someone can point me in the direction of where an alt line might be that I can take for this Purdue team because it is soaring under 4.5.
Yeah, to me, I'm on the under, unfortunately, as well. But to me, I'm looking at if you're trying to Purdue and you're trying to build, where's 5 wins? Where's a bowl game on the schedule? I think a bowl game would be a hell of a job by Ryan Walters in year
Unbelievable
2.
job.
Because not only is it was a tough rebuild, right? But it was also, damn it, Purdue. Even with Jeff Brom cooking there, why do you have Notre Dame and at Oregon State? And you schedule this when Oregon State was a fucking Pac-12 team. What are you doing? I mean, ADs. That's not. I love tough, Power Four out of conference games, Power Five out of conference games to be scheduled. I love home and homes. I love road games. I love, on campus, on site games. But you also have to understand, do your coach some favors, do your fan base some favors, right? You do not want to be, 1-2 going in the Big Ten play where you got to play Nebraska, at Wisconsin, at Illinois, Oregon on a Friday night. I mean, not ideal. Not ideal. But I guess if you're looking at a game where you can start building momentum early in the season, it's that Oregon State game. And I'm trying to find a line right now, and I couldn't find one. And I'm looking at these power rankings, and one of them has Oregon State way, way too high. And I think that's a winnable game for Purdue for sure. Again, on the road, I think Oregon State is a team that I don't know how to rate. I don't know what it's going to look like just because of all the change, the coaching staff, the players leaving, the conferences, everything off the field has also got to be affecting these guys on the field. We'll see. I think that fan base is going to be fired up to play another Power Four team, especially from a conference that took their 4 best teams from the Pac-12, or 4 biggest brands, I guess you want to call it. We'll see. But if you win that football game, you could start building momentum. You sneak one against Wisconsin or Illinois. A lot of people have circled that Oregon game on a Friday night, and not to be the bearer of bad news, but Oregon is so good. Oregon is crazy talented.
Oh, we're losing you a little bit.
Spoiler maker thing on Friday nights. Uh, but they're just so good. They're too deep. That might be a tough one. But here's the thing: if you're 2 and whatever by the bye week, I think 2-5 by the bye week, I still think you can hit your over. Not that you're going to. I mean, I think beyond. I think the too tough out of conference, too tough in conference. But you got Northwestern, Michigan State, and Indiana, all winnable football games at the back half of your schedule in November. You just kind of got to get to that second bye week, regroup, get healthy, and then see what happens from there. It could be tough though this year, unfortunately for Purdue fans. But let us know in the comments, right? I mean, this is a team. The Ryan Walters, I think we kind of liked it. It was a fun hire. and what he did at Illinois. I think he's building this program the right way, right? He's recruiting well, but he's also, trying to piece together a roster here and there with these transfers. A lot of them aren't going to hit, but some of them could, and that could change this, from a 3-win football team to maybe even a 5-win football team. A 6 at best case scenario would be crazy, but I think the future is definitely one that you feel pretty good about Purdue. It sucks that you're not in the Big Ten West because, listen, I'm a Minnesota fan. I know it too. It's teams like us. We're gonna miss it. We're gonna miss those days, but it'll be all good. It'll be fun.
I'm staring at Purdue over under 2.5 conference wins. The
What's
unders
the line?
plus 130. Not saying that's
Wait,
a play for me yet.
wait, time out. So Vegas then says that you're gonna go 2-1 and out of
Well,
conference.
really, what they're saying is that for some reason they're not offering it at 3. They're saying that they should win 3 conference games, basically. They're saying that they should go 4-8 and win 3 conference games. It's not a play yet. Tune in next week for our betting show, but that could very well be a play for me. I gotta think about that a little more and run some numbers, but under 2.5 conference wins at plus 130 seems like it could be some serious value.
Listen, if Vegas thinks you're not gonna beat Oregon State on the road, how are you gonna do much better against Illinois and Indiana on the road later in the season?
Yeah, or Michigan State, but also on the road.
On a Friday
Western.
too, and that's after playing Ohio State and Penn State. I mean,
Yeah, I'm I'm very intrigued in that. And they're all late in the season when the depth in this team could fall apart. I'm starting to really like that play. I'm not gonna take it yet, but we'll see.